I guess we'll go to the callers. Raw time.
Hey, can you read out the Epstein client list?
Well, I don't know if our producer will let us do that, but okay. Bill Clinton visited the island 28 times, has numerous rape accusers, one of which claims he bit her lip and told her not to worry about pregnancy because childhood mumps had rendered him sterile. 3 of his accusers were in the front row of one of Hillary's debates with Trump. Epstein also helped him set up the Clinton Global Initiative. Clinton's adultery with Monica Lewinsky surfaced after he negotiated the Oslo Accords between Israel and Palestine. A painting of Bill Clinton wearing Monica Lewinsky's cum-stained dress was found in Epstein's house in Manhattan. Elon Musk, who can be seen in an email exchange with Epstein asking if he was able to meet up with Ghislaine at Kung Fu practice, which is probably code for an Asian hooker. Ehud Barak, Israel's 10th prime minister, who is filmed going into Epstein's mansion in New York and also visited him in the Caribbean. Ehud Olmert, Israel's 12th prime minister, who stuck his tongue up the nose of a journalist. Shimon Peres, Israel's 9th prime minister. Moshe Katsav, Israel's president in 2000, who got convicted of rape of 4 different women. British Prime Minister Tony Blair, one of the architects of the Iraq War. Ghislaine Maxwell, Epstein's chief recruiter and daughter of media giant and known Israeli agent Robert Maxwell. Ghislaine Maxwell referred to the girls she recruited as nubiles and called them trash in Hebrew and Yiddish words. According to victims, Maxwell was worse than Epstein and would join in on the rapes with him. Maria Farmer claims she was forced to have sex with Alan Dershowitz in Les Wexner's house, after which she received cell phone messages from Maxwell telling her, "There's a lot of ways to die on the West Highway." When a girl tried to run away from one of the grooming massages, Maxwell dropped her off in her grandparents' yard naked. Les Wexner, Epstein's chief financier and owner of Victoria's Secret. Wexner sold Epstein a $51 million home for just $1 and hired Mike Jeffries to run Abercrombie & Fitch. Mike Jeffries would get busted for running the gay equivalent of the Epstein ring, involving boys being forced to shave their entire bodies and take hot water enemas. Wexner started the Mega Group, a clique of Jewish billionaires, for the purpose of influencing policy on behalf of Israeli interests. He also created the Wexner Foundation, the first president of which was Rabbi Herbert Friedman, executive chairman for the National United Jewish Appeal. Wexner put Epstein on the board of Reporty, something Epstein invested in on behalf of Israeli Prime Minister Ehud Barak. Barak also received $2.5 million from the Wexner Foundation and $204K for research, which has never been fully explained. Jean-Luc Brunel, owner of Karen Models out of Tel Aviv, from where he would funnel girls as young as 12 to Epstein. Karen Models had ranches in Paris, Miami, and New York, where he was housed at properties owned by Mark Epstein. Jean-Luc Brunel's procurement was referred to by clients as French wine. According to witness testimony, Brunel used his agency to get girls and bring them to the Caribbean for orgies. These girls were as young as 12. Him and Epstein would go around Paris drugging and R-ing girls in a limo. Brunel is said to have presented Epstein with 3 girls as a birthday gift, also as young as 12. Brunel's last modeling agency was Mother Plus One out of Kiev, Ukraine, from where he would funnel impoverished Ukrainian girls for the Israeli sex trade after burning their passports. He would also recruit from Child Protective Services. Like Epstein, Brunel was arrested during the Trump administration and was suicided in jail. Jess Staley, banker who worked for J.P. Morgan and later Barclays. Epstein's account, which Staley oversaw, paid out over 20 victims through Bear Stearns, the timing of which thousands of dollars would get sent to victims coincides with Staley's visits to the island. Staley even visited Epstein in Florida after his 2009 conviction. The U.S. Virgin Islands, where Epstein owned 2 private islands, alleges that J.P. Morgan facilitated and sustained Epstein's sex trafficking over 2 decades. Attorney General Denise George lost her job for creating these lawsuits. J.P. Morgan Chase has paid out a total of $365 million in settlements related to its dealings with Jeffrey Epstein. This includes a $290 million settlement with Epstein's accusers and a $75 million settlement with the U.S. Virgin Islands. Fun fact, the day that the U.S. Virgin Islands put the lawsuit in for Jess Staley and J.P. Morgan, the Tates were arrested, diverting search results for human trafficking towards them. According to filings with the U.S. District Court in Manhattan, Jess Staley emailed Epstein in July 2010. This is the exchange.
That was fun. Say hi to Snow White.
What character would you like next?
Beauty and the Beast.
Well, one side is available.
Darren Indyke, Epstein's lawyer through whom Epstein's hush money was delivered. After Epstein's arrest, a box from Epstein's New York mansion labeled AV, adult video, disappeared from evidence for 2 days before being returned by Indyke and fellow lawyer Richard Kahn. Sarah Kellen, one of Epstein's recruiters. Henry Kissinger, Former U.S. Secretary of State, who is widely considered to be a war criminal. Alan Dershowitz, Epstein's lawyer, who admitted to getting a massage at Epstein's place, but maintained that he kept his underwear on. Maria Farmer claims she was forced to have sex with Dershowitz in Les Wexner's house, after which she received a cell phone message from Maxwell implying that there's many ways to die on the West Highway. Dershowitz defended Roman Polanski, who was convicted of R-ing a 13-year-old. He also defended rapist Baruch Leibovitz, who admitted to having oral sex 8 times with boys. Dershowitz got him out on a technicality, and he still roams the street to this day. He was also a lawyer for Jonathan Pollard, the most compromising spy in U.S. history, who sold the U.S. first strike plans to Israel, who traded them with the Soviets in exchange for Jewish diaspora. He is quoted in Penthouse magazine stating that kitty prawn doesn't make one a bad person, and therefore should not be a punishable offense. Adnan Khashoggi, a Saudi businessman famous for his hooker cruises involving girls mainly from Eastern Europe. A Khashoggi party will make a Diddy party look like a women's book club. I'm talking about shit which makes Japanese sadists cry, scat, eating bugs, beating, keeping women in cages. Not are, but at the same time, it's hard to imagine anyone consenting with prior disclosure to getting beaten or shit in their mouth. Billionaire Mark Rich set up Benex in New York City and its counterpart Nordex in Russia to launder money for Russian mob boss and dual Israeli Grigory Lotchansky. He also illegally helped smuggle arms into South Africa, traded with Iran during the embargo, and screwed over Zambia with their copper mining. Bill Gates was introduced to Epstein by Microsoft's Chief Technology Officer Nathan Myhrvold and Melanie S. Walker, a top Gates Foundation advisor. Gates was an easy mark because even before, he was hiring strippers and having naked pool parties. In an email with colleagues, Gates talks about having dinner with Jeffrey Epstein in New York, stating, "A very attractive Swedish woman and her daughter dropped by, and I ended up staying there quite late." At the time of this email, Eva Dubin, former Miss Sweden, and her 16-year-old daughter, Selena, were at Epstein's. Selena is also Epstein's goddaughter. Joey Ito is the administrator who collects the donations at MIT. He didn't want to accept donations from Epstein after his arrest in 2007, so Epstein got around this by making Bill Gates make the donation on his behalf. Nathan Myhrvold, Microsoft's chief technology officer, used to visit Epstein's mansion in Florida when Epstein wasn't even there, and even borrowed his plane. Harvey Weinstein. Weinstein's genitals have been described as resembling an anthill. This may have something to do with a pre-Viagra method used by diabetics involving skin pricking to get hard, building up skin tissue, thus resembling an anthill. Black Cube is an organization consisting of former Mossad agents which was introduced to Weinstein by Israeli Prime Minister Ehud Barak in order to spy on and harass his victims. It is unclear if Black Cube is related to Black Box, the Israeli security company accused of spying on Britney Spears. Glenn Dubin. Virginia Giuffre details being raped by the billionaire hedge fund manager who married Epstein's ex-girlfriend. His daughter was Epstein's goddaughter. Virginia knew exactly where he was, what hotel they stayed in, and that his wife was pregnant, who she was forced to give a massage to. Despite Epstein's 2008 conviction, the Dubins maintained contact, even inviting him for Thanksgiving in 2009. Eva Dubin sent an email to Epstein's probation officer expressing her complete comfort with Epstein's presence around her children. There is also testimony from Glenn Dubin's butler saying they witnessed 15-year-old girls in his house. Leon Black, co-founder of Global Apollo, from which Epstein was able to extort money, gave $160 million to an Epstein LLC, allegedly in exchange for help with his taxes. His whole staff are rapists, such as Robert Kraft. RFK Jr. had dinner with Leon Black at the schools he owned, which were a front to gather young women. Leon Black agreed to pay $62 million to the U.S. Virgin Islands to settle Epstein-related claims. Beforehand, Leon Black was sued by an autistic girl he raped to the point of anal bleeding and was exonerated because they paid her enough to settle out of court. Kevin Spacey molested young male actors. Roman Polanski, aside from what he did to Samantha Geimer, photographer Shahrokh Hatami, alleged that Polanski forced Sharon Tate to engage in threesomes and would bring other women home for sex, which Tate disliked. There are also claims that he shared sadomasochistic porn films featuring Tate with friends. Prince Andrew fucked Virginia Roberts 3 times, sucked on her feet in a hot tub, also flew to Peter Nygaard's island for a week with his wife, who shaved 3 days off of her stay. He can also be seen in Epstein's house in New York. Steven Pinker, lukewarm, play-it-safe, classic liberal atheist whose books on race are ascientific and needs to have his head dunked in a fucking toilet at an American high school. Charles Bronfman, the chairman of United Jewish Communities, which incorporated United Jewish Appeal, Council of Jewish Federations, and United Israel Appeal. Gardner P. Dunnan, head at Dalton High, which hired Epstein as a math teacher, had a 14-year-old student live in his house where he cheated on his wife who was dying of cancer. Doug Leese, illegally trafficked British arms to Saudi Arabia. Ace Greenberg, who hired Epstein to work at Bear Stearns. Edgar Bronfman, the president of the World Jewish Congress who ran Seagram Liquor. Edgar's daughters Sarah and Claire Bronfman were caught up in the NXIVM cult, which literally branded women as sex slaves. Claire Bronfman had pleaded guilty in the case. Other billionaires include head of J.P. Morgan Chase, Jamie Dimon, Robert Kraft, Pincus Green, Ronald Perlman, Tom Pritzker, Mort Zuckerman, Thomas H. Lee, Reid Hoffman, Larry Page, Robert Schottenstein, Sergey Brin, Eddie Lampert, and Conrad Black. Donald Trump. Trump had Mar-a-Lago, the property adjacent from which used to be owned by Les Wexner. Epstein knew Trump wanted the property, but was too broke to buy it, and even took him on a tour of it just to spite him. But then Trump started getting money again from Hyatt and The Apprentice, outbidding Epstein by less than $1 million. In retaliation, Ghislaine Maxwell started recruiting girls from Mar-a-Lago, one of which was 14-year-old Virginia Roberts. According to Maria Farmer, Trump's wife Ivana assisted Maxwell in recruiting girls, referring to them as nubiles. Trump divorced Ivana and banned Epstein from Mar-a-Lago after Virginia's father complained about what was going on. Years later, Epstein, Maxwell, Jean-Luc Brunel, and Peter Nygard would be arrested under his watch. Other celebrities include Barbara Walters, Alec Baldwin, Richard Branson, RFK Jr., Dustin Hoffman, Senator Edward Kennedy, and Matt Groening.